Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the biggest scam in the world is? It's not crypto. It's not real estate. It's the idea that if you study hard, you'll become rich. Think about it. From the time we were kids, everyone told us go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, and life will be safe. But no one told us that safe and successful are not the same thing. You see, schools teach us how to work for money, but they never teach us how money works for us. That's why the world is full of intelligent, hardworking, degree-holding people who are still living paycheck to paycheck. You've seen them. Maybe it's your uncle who studied engineering, your cousin with an MBA, your neighbor who works day and night, but somehow they're still struggling to pay the bills. Meanwhile, someone half their age is selling a hoodie online and making 10 times more. You call it unfair, but it's not unfair, it's uneducated in the real world. Because the truth is, the classroom never prepared us for the marketplace. You can solve calculus problems, but can you solve the rent problem? You can write essays on economics, but can you make your own economy? When I graduated, I realized something funny. I had learned everything except the things that actually mattered. They taught me to memorize history, but not how to make my own. They taught me to find the value of X, but never how to find the value of my time. That's when I decided, if schools won't teach me about money, life will. And life is a brutal teacher. It doesn't give you grades, it gives you bills. It doesn't give you homework, it gives you deadlines. It doesn't say, try again next semester. It says, pay or lose your house. I remember once talking to a man who had worked 30 years in the same company. He told me, I've given my life to this job. And I asked him, then why are you still afraid of losing it? He laughed nervously because deep down he knew. He didn't own his job. His job owned him. That's the first rule of money. Nobody teaches you. Never depend on one income. One income is one oxygen tube. If it breaks, you can't breathe. Let's be honest. Most people don't have financial problems. They have income dependency problems. They rely on a single paycheck, and then wonder why one small layoff feels like an earthquake. Look at anyone wealthy. They never rely on just one source. A musician earns from concerts, brand deals, and royalties. An athlete earns from the game, endorsements, and investments. Even your favorite YouTuber has multiple streams, ads, merch, sponsors, courses. But the average person? They wait for the first of every month like it's Christmas. And when the money arrives, it disappears faster than Wi-Fi at a coffee shop. Here's the funny part. The people who depend on one income are usually the ones who laugh at people starting side hustles. They say you're wasting your time. Yes, maybe, but at least they're trying to build freedom while you're building dependence. You don't need to be a millionaire to start. You just need to stop thinking like an employee all the time. Because the moment you start asking, how can I make money even when I'm not working? That's the moment your financial education begins. And please don't say, but I don't have money to invest. You don't need money to start. You need creativity, courage, and consistency. When you don't have capital, you use your skill. When you don't have skill, you use your time. When you don't have time, you use your brain. And if you use none of them, then money will use you. There's a story about Warren Buffett. When he was a teenager, he bought a pinball machine and put it in a barber shop. Every customer who got a haircut played a game. Soon he bought more machines, placed them all over town, and by the time he was 20, he sold the business for thousands of dollars. He wasn't working for money, he was making money work for him. Now imagine, most adults today would rather spend that time complaining that life is unfair than finding their own barbershop opportunity. The world doesn't reward the people who work the hardest. It rewards those who work the smartest. So my friend, here's your homework for today. Ask yourself, if my salary stopped tomorrow, what would still pay my bills? If the answer is nothing, you don't have a money problem, you have an education problem. Because the school forgot to teach you the most important rule of all. Don't just earn, learn to own. Everyone wants to earn more money, but very few people ever ask the smarter question. How can I make my money work for me? Most people spend their whole lives earning money, but the rich, they multiply it. That's the second rule of money nobody teaches you. Don't just earn money, learn to multiply it. You see, schools teach you how to earn a living, But no one teaches you how to build wealth. They teach you how to work for money, but not how to make money work for you. And here's the funny thing. When most people finally start earning more, they don't become richer. They become more comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of growth. When you get a salary increase, what do? New phone, new shoes, new car. Maybe a slightly bigger house and a much bigger headache. You see, poor people buy liabilities, things that take money out of their pocket. Rich people buy assets, things that put money back in. That's the difference between looking rich and being rich. I once had a friend who got his first big bonus, $5,000. He said, "I'm finally getting that new iPhone." I told him, "That iPhone will be old in 1 year. What if you bought something that pays for every new iPhone you'll ever want?" He laughed, said I sounded boring, and still bought the phone. A year later, he was broke again, waiting for his next bonus. Because poor people focus on spending. Rich people focus on circulating. Money is like blood, it has to flow or it dies. When you spend, money leaves you. When you invest, it returns with friends. Now don't think investing means only stocks or real estate. The best investment is still yourself. Your skills, your knowledge, your network, those are assets too. Let me give you a simple example. 2 barbers open shops in the same street. Both cut hair for $10. One barber spends his money on a new phone. The other spends his money on a marketing course. Guess what happens next year? The first barber is still cutting hair for $10. The second one owns 3 shops. Same effort, different focus. Learning to multiply money is not about luck, it's about decisions. There's a reason. 80% of lottery winners go broke. They know how to earn money instantly, but not how to manage it intelligently. They never learn the skill of multiplication. The rich don't ask, "How much can I earn this month?" They ask, "How can I make this dollar earn another dollar for me?" And that's the mindset you need to develop. Even if you start small, $10, $100, it's about the habit, not the amount. Let's take Elon Musk as an example. He didn't build wealth by saving. He reinvested every bit of profit back into his next project, from PayPal to SpaceX to Tesla. While most people would have retired after one success, he kept multiplying. You might say, "But I don't have millions to invest like Elon." True. But remember, he started by sleeping on a couch, eating cheap food, and coding all night. He invested time and energy before money. That's something anyone can do. If you can't multiply your money, multiply your skills, your ideas, your influence, because eventually those will multiply your income. Money follows value. So if you want more money, create more value. Learn something that solves real problems for real people. Because money doesn't disappear, it simply moves toward those who know how to handle it. So stop asking, "How can I make more money?" Start asking, "How can I make my money multiply?" Because when you understand that, you'll stop working harder and start working smarter. And that's when real financial freedom begins. Most people believe the most valuable thing in life is money. But that's wrong. The most valuable thing is time. Because money lost can be earned again, but time lost never returns. The poor use time to earn money. The rich use money to buy back time. Let me explain. If you work 8 hours a day to make money, you've simply traded your time for cash. But when you learn to make money even while you're not working, that's called leverage. And leverage is what separates freedom from slavery. I once met a man who said, "I work 16 hours a day. I'm so hardworking." I said, "That's not hard work. That's just bad math." Because if your income stops when you stop working, you don't have income, you have allowance. Most people are not broke because they're lazy. They're broke because their income depends entirely on their effort. They're stuck in a loop. Work, get paid, spend, repeat. You stop working, you stop earning. That's not a life, that's a trap. Let me tell you something funny. When I started learning about money, I thought passive income was a scam. I used to think, come on, how can money come while you sleep? But later I realized that's exactly how the world's richest people live. When you buy an Apple product today, Tim Cook doesn't wake up and personally hand it to you. He built a system that works while he sleeps. That's leverage. When you watch your favorite YouTuber, they're not sitting there watching with you. Their video is doing the work while they're already shooting the next one. That's leverage. When you invest in stocks or digital assets, your money is working even when you're not. That's leverage. Most people dream of financial freedom. But freedom doesn't come from working more. It comes from building systems that work without you. A teacher once told me, hard work is the key to success. And I agree, but only for a while. Hard work opens the first door. After that, you need smart systems to open the rest. Because if hard work alone made people rich, construction workers would be billionaires. They're some of the hardest working people on earth, but they don't own leverage. Leverage is not just about money, it's about time, skill, and creativity. For example, if you work for a company, you get paid for your hours. But if you start your own brand, or create an online course, or build content, you can earn for years from one idea. That's how you make time your partner, not your prisoner. The internet has given everyone equal leverage. You don't need a big office, you need a big mindset. One idea, one skill, one laptop. And you can create something that earns while you sleep. That's not fantasy, that's modern leverage. So here's a question for you. Are you spending your time building someone else's dream? Or investing your time building your own? Because in the end, your time is your true currency. Spend it wisely. Remember, the poor say time is money. The rich say time is freedom. You can have 3 degrees and still be broke. But you can have street knowledge and build an empire. You know why? Because schools teach you how to pass exams. But life tests you with bills and you don't get multiple choice. Most people think education ends when college ends. But real education starts the day you realize your diploma can't pay your rent. They teach us everything except the one thing we all use every day, money. You study history, geography, literature, physics, but nobody teaches you how to handle a paycheck, how to build wealth, or even how taxes work. It's funny, you can graduate knowing the atomic number of gold, but not how to own any. I remember once meeting a very smart guy, top university, top grades, but he said, I don't understand why I'm always short on cash. I said, because school gave you knowledge but not intelligence. He looked confused. I told him, knowledge is information. Intelligence is how you use it. That's what financial intelligence is. Knowing how to make money work for you. How to protect it, grow it, and multiply it. Let's take a simple example. If I give $10,000 to 10 people, some will spend it, some will save it, and only one will multiply it. Same money, different mindset. That's why financial intelligence matters more than income. Because no matter how much you earn, you can still go broke if you don't know how to manage it. Look at professional athletes. They earn millions, but many end up bankrupt within years after retirement. Why? Because they were trained to play games, not manage gains. And look at a small-time shop owner, no fancy degree, no financial advisor, but through common sense, discipline, and learning, he builds a business that supports his entire family. That's financial intelligence in action. You don't need a finance degree to understand money. You just need curiosity and humility. Ask questions. How does tax work? What's compound interest? How do investments grow? Because the truth is, if you don't understand money, you'll spend your life working for someone who does. Let me tell you something powerful. Money is a game. The problem is, most people are playing without learning the rules. And the funny thing, they blame the game instead of learning how to play it. Learn how debt works. Learn how equity works. Understand how banks think. Because they're not smarter, they're just better educated about money. When you put your money in the bank, they don't keep it safe. They use it to make more for themselves. They know something you don't. That's why financial education is power. Don't wait for the government or your school to teach it. Learn from books, mentors, online courses, and real experience. Study how rich people think, not how broke people complain. The world doesn't reward your degrees, it rewards your decisions. Because money doesn't care about your GPA. It cares about your IQ, your investment quotient. So don't stop learning, but from now on, make sure what you learn actually builds your life, not just fills your head. Remember this, academic education can make you a living, but financial education can make you a fortune. Everyone wants more money, but very few people ask the real question. What value am I creating that deserves more money? That's the last rule of money they never taught you in school. Don't chase money, chase value. Money is like a shadow. When you run after it, it runs away. But when you walk toward purpose and value, the shadow follows you. Most people say, I want to be rich. But rich people don't think that way. They say, I want to build something people need. And when you build something that solves problems, money comes automatically. You see, people don't pay for effort, they pay for impact. You can work 12 hours flipping burgers, or you can work 2 hours designing a system that sells 1 million burgers. Same industry, different thinking. Think of Steve Jobs. He didn't invent the phone. He made the phone beautiful, simple, and smart. That's value. And that value changed industries and his income followed. Or look at J.K. Rowling. When she wrote Harry Potter, she wasn't thinking, how can I get rich? She was thinking, how can I tell a story that inspires millions? The money came later, after the value was created. Even YouTubers and influencers who make millions, they didn't start by chasing cash. They started by sharing something that connected knowledge, emotion, humor, inspiration. Value first, income next. But the poor mindset flips it. They say, pay me first, then I'll work. The rich mindset says, let me create something so good, people will line up to pay me. That's how wealth is built. Not by chasing the result, but by perfecting the process. Now let's talk about something nobody likes. Patience. Everyone wants fast money, quick profits, instant fame, overnight success. But the truth is, real money grows slowly, silently, and steadily. A farmer doesn't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. But that's exactly how most people treat their dreams. They want the reward before the roots. The richest people are not the fastest, they're the most consistent. They understand that every day you learn, create and build value, you're watering your future. And one day, that seed becomes your financial forest. So stop asking, when will I get rich? Start asking, what am I building that the world truly needs? Because the world doesn't reward effort, it rewards usefulness. And when you become useful, you become unstoppable. In the end, the real wealth is not in your bank account, it's in your mindset. If you can think bigger than your problems, you can earn bigger than your paycheck. Money doesn't come to those who need it. It comes to those who deserve it. Through patience, discipline, and the courage to create value. So my friend, remember this. Don't chase money, chase growth. Chase purpose, chase value. Because when you grow, everything around you grows too. Your income, your freedom, your future. And that's when you finally understand the truth. School taught you how to earn, but life teaches you how to own. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like video.